It's Thursday. It's Thursday. I don't usually work on Thursdays, but I worked today, so I'm home pretty late. And then I stayed late. I don't usually work in the afternoon, and even the days I do, I'm usually done at 4:45. Today I worked late, which is a part of the story of what I'm thankful for. I'm going to try my best to focus on the camera, but since I'm home late, I'm also going to, I got to throw some food together. And I figured let me try to get this video out the way, knock out two birds with one stone. But today, I am thankful for so much. But I'm gonna make this one brief. Can I? I'm thankful for some specific things. I got some good news at my job today, and even though today was long and challenging, it's chaotic, I learned some critical lessons, and maybe I'll be specific about that. I had some tasks that were not my responsibility at all that I just took on, like staying late when I really didn't need to get something done and make sure they're ready for tomorrow because I'm not going to work tomorrow. And but at the time when I realized I was going to be late, it was really frustrating because I catch the bus home. And I was looking at the buses and just looking at which ones would still be available and not knowing which bus I was going to catch. It was pretty frustrating, but I had to ask the Lord to help me have a better attitude. And the task was also kind of complex. It should have been simple, but because it was all new, using a new program, a new software to do some scheduling and stuff, it was tricky to just send an email to everybody who's going to be there tomorrow so they can be prepared to utilize everything I had just did today. It was unexpected. It was last minute. I was supposed to meet with one of my managers at 4 to get it done. We didn't start till 4:30. He didn't explain what it was. It was actually something I really felt like I could have started earlier. So I already had all these thoughts in my mind, like I could have done this earlier and been done. We could have started at 4 and I would have been done. You could have made it clear what you really wanted and I probably would have done it differently. All these things, and then the thing he asked me to do was like a lot. And I was looking at the clock like I'm supposed to be leaving in 5 minutes. And a big part of me just wanted to, like at one point I did just, like when I went to sit at my laptop to sort of get started on it, realized how complicated it was going to be. I was just going to close my laptop and leave. I'm like, I need to stick to a schedule. I need them to respect my schedule. And even though I don't want to be a pushover, I felt like the Lord was dealing with me to be patient, be understanding. The job itself is only complicated because the program is new. So everybody there is dealing with a lot of things up in the air, last minute, all of that stuff. So, and I'm a part of that team. And today I really had to deal with some frustrations and headaches and some just that feeling of knowing that you kind of doing more than what is your job. And that's not me. That's not my nature per se. I'm usually really good at drawing a line so that people don't get the wrong expectation of me at a workplace and take advantage of me. But today was like the Lord was showing me that He's not going to let them exploit me. Like, I feel like I'll say it this way. Today was an example how I'm so used to just being hyperactive and protecting myself and covering my own behind because a lot of times it feels like it's just me, especially when you're out there, you're a woman, you're a black woman, it just matters. Doesn't matter how educated I am, doesn't matter what my work experience is. Sometimes it doesn't even matter what comes out of my mouth or what I even put in writing. It seems like there's always, even without being a woman, without being black, there's always workplace politics and all that. But being a woman, being black, all these things, it piles up. And I notice when things, it can be a lot. With people, the stuff people say, oh my goodness. Either way, it feels like I've been protecting myself, or I have these habits of being hyper vigilant and watching my time and all. And I'm a considerate employee. And I try to really go above and beyond, only to the extent that it does not, that I don't feel exploited. And so today I felt myself being hyper vigilant and trying to make sure I wasn't tiptoeing into that territory where I was being taken advantage of. But the Holy Spirit was dealing with me, telling me to humble myself and just, go the extra mile. And in doing so, I start to see how, okay, well, for my employees, managers, the different people I'm working with, there is a lot going on. And so if me stepping out of my role a little bit to get this thing done helps it move forward, then it's no skin off my back, and God is assuring me that He's going to be the one to protect me. And that was a strange feeling, because as much as I've loved the Lord through the years, I've been practicing this behavior and like hyper vigilant about it, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting. So to hear God sort of telling me I could trust Him, it was not just a lesson learned. It was humbling. It was comforting. It was eye-opening in some ways, and I feel good now that the day is done. One of my coworkers offered me a ride home instead of me having to catch a bus, but I don't. I appreciate his offer, and this is a coworker who has taken me home on a couple of occasions as well, because he's a generous person. But I want to make sure that I'm still see, and then that's the other thing, just that too. Trying to make sure I'm just relying on myself. But I like the freedom of just walking out of the door at work and just letting the door close behind me. That means a lot to me. That means a lot to me, especially now with making sure I don't allow any of my thinking patterns or behaviors to get really caught up. When I was teaching, that was hard to do. Now here's the thing, I would leave. Like when it was time to leave, I was out. Like and that's the other thing about teaching. They want you after hours, they want you to do things that it takes free time for you to do. And I used to work really, really hard at drawing that line. But honestly, since I did that, that's what made the job so stressful. You cannot really teach in most schools without giving them free time. Like without working after hours, without doing stuff at home. It felt impossible, and really I felt like I was losing it for several reasons, but just time management wise, it was the most unrealistic job I've ever done in my life. And I've had a lot of jobs, a lot of temporary jobs, a lot of jobs in education, a lot of jobs at universities, different types of jobs, banks, the airport. I've had a lot of jobs, and I have never had a job that was more unrealistic than teaching middle school. And I taught at 3 different schools. And one was the one with the union was a little bit better in that you couldn't ask me to stay after the time was for me leaving. You couldn't ask me to come earlier than the time was. Like you couldn't even just ask or have an expectation, because at the 2 charter schools, they would just mention stuff earlier in the day and after the day like it was just a thing. And I would remind them, it's not a scheduled meeting. It's not all that. I'm out of here. But still, when I would go home, the stress would follow me. I would still ideate and try to figure out and problem solve at home. So in a lot of ways, I was still giving it my free time, and I wasn't taking care of myself the way I really could have and should have been. So I don't recommend teaching. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's a racket. I really think it's ridiculous. It's crazy. But shout out to y'all who are actually out there doing it. But with this job, I appreciate leaving, letting the door close behind me, knowing that I've done what I needed to do, and that I'll be back to continue that and feeling good about the work that I did. And today I felt good about the work that I did. And even though my coworker wanted to give me a ride, I'm supposed to be cooking. I wanted that freedom. I wanted to just walk out and not have to talk about work until I pulled up to my door. I like to walk to the bus stop. Today, because of the time I left, I caught a combination of 2 buses that is not my regular route. Technically, it's a shorter walk, so I didn't spend as much time walking to the bus after I got off work, or from the bus to my house when I got home. But usually I take a bus that, I walk a few blocks to get to, and then once I get dropped off at the job. Like, it's a few blocks, it's 4 blocks between the job and the bus stop. And I like that. I like that time. It helps me to decompress, pray, and all those things. So I appreciate it today, though, that the bus was just right there. So even though I didn't get as much time to walk, I still got that freedom to just decompress as soon as I walked out of the job. So I didn't really want my coworker to take me home, and I'm glad he didn't have to. But I'm thankful that on hard days like today, that I'm reminded that I'm capable, that the Holy Spirit is with me, that I'm not alone. I'm reminded that and I'm just going to use the air fryer because why not? I'm reminded that my efforts are not in vain, but that my success is not just going to be based on my efforts. I'm reminded that there is new ways to do things, and that's not a bad thing. Learning to do things in a new way almost every day. The Holy Spirit, like even yesterday, the project manager was showing me how to do something that I feel like I know how to do, and for some reason at that moment I couldn't think of how to do it, and he was showing me a way that I wouldn't normally do and wasn't the way I remembered how to do it, but in the moment it helped me to get it done when it needed to be done. So instead of just sitting there beating myself up for not remembering specifically how to do this thing and not getting too caught up in the fact that this is a new way, just appreciating the fact that there are other ways to get things done, and I am capable of learning new ways to get things done. And even if I don't remember certain things, like if I don't remember or cannot get access to the way I typically do a thing, I'll be okay learning the new way. A lot of words. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful for just food to eat. I'm thankful for God, His faithfulness. I'm thankful for His grace, His mercy. I'm thankful for just His presence with me. That He doesn't throw me away for getting frustrated or being irritated. Because there was a lot of moments I was frustrated today, irritated. But I hung in there and really just gave those frustrations and irritations to the Lord. And in exchange, He gave me successful outcomes, completed things, momentum, energy, a refreshed outlook. Like, I didn't lose anything today. I gained a lot today. Even staying to work later. Even walking to work. I mean, we had an ice storm last night, so when I walked to work, like walking to the bus stop, I had to walk like a penguin. The whole sidewalk was covered in ice, some portions of the grass even, and the grass could be tricky to walk on in certain spots. It's just, Detroit is an interesting place, and only a handful of people where I live salt their sidewalks. But once I get to my destination and walk to my job, usually a lot more people, because I walk residential streets. A residential street to my bus to work, and it drops me off on a residential street, and I walk that street, across the main street to get to my job. And most of the sidewalk was ice. And I did do some sidewalk walking, but I noticed, like, because the streets, this is crazy. I did do some grass walking, but because the streets that I walk down all have driveways, which not all Detroit residential streets have driveways. Like where I grew up, we didn't have driveways. But my street and the street where I work, they do. And so what would happen is I would walk on the grass and then end up on the driveway, which was paved in ice, and sort of have to adjust how I was walking and then get back on the grass, which was an adjustment. And so what I found was changing up my pace and how I was walking to go from grass to ice was kind of destabilizing my footsteps. So instead of trying to do that for what I think my walk to work total was like a mile and a half maybe, instead of doing that for a mile and a half, I just walked the sidewalk at the same penguin pace with that same kind of gait, and by the grace of God, I did not slip. Coming home, it wasn't icy. It was a couple spots, but it wasn't icy, and it was a shorter walk because, like I said, I caught 2 different buses home. So I'm thankful for that. It's the small thing, but no, those are big things. Those are very big things. It'd be the big things. So, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but I'm gonna just finish up. I'm grateful for today. I'm grateful for how God steps in and helps Grateful that I got a lot done today. I didn't lose my mind. I learned some lessons. But I still feel good about enforcing boundaries at work while knowing that I can be nice and go the extra mile and not have to feel like I'm going to have my time or my efforts exploited, because God is going to have my back and the Holy Spirit is going to lead and guide me into all truth. And because I'm walking in the fear of the Lord and requesting wisdom from God, I can lean into using that wisdom in how I go the extra mile or enforce a boundary. So very, very grateful for all of that amongst so much more. Okay, that's gonna be it. All right, y'all have a good one.